Hello, welcome again to one of Monk Gardens' Nature Apps Explored. So our app this week is Merlin Bird ID. So Merlin Bird ID is made by Cornell, and it is all about identifying birds. So it has a few features, and we're going to focus on one of them in particular. But when you get the app, a couple things are going to happen. It's going to want you to put in an email address, which you don't have to do. You can put in an email address and it'll sign you up for emails from Cornell and from the app, so you get updates and things like that, but you can skip that. But one thing that is required is that you download a bird pack. So it'll use your location to figure out where you are, and then it'll download a pack of birds, a list of birds that are unique to your area. So when I did it, here in Wisconsin, it gave me a couple options, one of which was the Midwest, so just the Midwest states here. The other was the entirety of North America. So I knew I wasn't going too far right now, so I just chose the Midwest option, and it's smaller. So it downloads onto your phone or onto your device. So the one you choose, if you're worried about space on your phone or your device, maybe choose the Midwest one. But if you really want a huge variety of birds, you do a lot of traveling or something, you might want to choose the North America package of birds, and that'll download. It shouldn't take very long, and that's really the only thing you need to get going. And then from there, it takes you to the Merlin Bird ID homepage, and from there we can see a few of the options that Merlin Bird ID can do. And the one that we're going to focus on the most is an option where if you've seen a bird, you can put in where you saw it, when you saw it, the main colors of the bird, the shape and size of the bird, and then Merlin Bird ID, based on your location and the date, will do its best to guess what kind of bird you might have seen. And it gives you a bunch of pictures, and it also gives you the sound the bird makes, so you can compare and contrast and try to figure out which bird you saw. So that's the feature that we are going to focus on today for the Merlin Bird ID app. Okay, so I'm going to open up the Merlin Bird ID app. Remember, if it's the first time you're doing this, it'll ask for your email address, which you don't have to give it if you don't want to. You can just hit skip, and then you'll have to download that bird pack. And then it is probably also at some point going to ask you for your location, because it needs to know where you are in order to do its best job at IDing birds, okay? So we're going to focus on this Start Bird ID thing here, that option. But first, let's go up here, see what we have up here. So you can sign in, you can make an account if you want to. I have never seen the need to, but you can. Home takes you right back here. Start Bird ID, Photo ID, Explore Birds, those are the same options that you have here on the home screen. eBird Life List, that's another option that you can explore when you're checking out this app. eBird Life List, though, you need a Cornell Lab account to do the life list. So if you're seeing birds and you're really wanting to keep track of the birds you've seen, that might be something you want to check out. And then bird packs. So you can see that I've got the US Midwest. This one is the US and Canada Continental, and so that's one of the ones that it suggested for me, and I decided not to get that one because I know I'm not going outside of the Midwest anytime soon, so I just got Midwest. Get whatever works for you. And then there's some settings, help, about Merlin, a couple options down there that you could check out if you'd like. Otherwise, we're going to head back over to home, and we're going to check out this Start Bird ID. So it wants to know where I am, so it might use your current location. If that's where you saw your bird, you can try that. And then it'll want to know when you saw the bird. So if you're identifying a bird you just saw today, you can go ahead and just leave it. It knows what day it is. Hit next. It'll want to know what size your bird was, because size can be a really important factor when determining what bird you see. So the smallest one is sparrow-sized or smaller, between sparrow and robin, robin-sized, between robin and crow, crow-sized, between crow and goose, and the biggest one is goose-sized or bigger. So they choose really common birds here to help you figure out what size your bird was. So if you get used to using this app, you can look at a bird and try to think, what size is that bird relative to a sparrow, robin, crow, or goose? And then it might help you out a little bit. So we're gonna pretend, well actually I'll think about a bird I saw today, about sparrow sized. So we'll click that guy, go to next. And then it wants to know what the main colors were. So if it was just a one colored bird, then you can just select one, but you can select up to 3 colors. So the bird I'm thinking of, I would say it was black, orange, and white. So I'm gonna hit next. And then it wants to know where it was. Was it eating at a feeder? Because only some birds will eat at feeders. Swimming, on the ground, in trees or bushes, on a fence or wire, or soaring or flying. So mine was in trees or bushes. And then it'll come up with a possible list of birds for you. And you know what? My bird was actually an American redstart. So American redstarts are birds that I see in my yard a lot this year, which is pretty neat. But if it hadn't been that, it'll list other birds for you here based on the information you gave it. So in this list, it'll show you some pictures, and it'll give you the option to hit this button down here to hear the sound it makes. So if you saw it and heard it, you could compare both of those. And it gives you some information under the picture. If you scroll, you can see male and female pictures. If you hit the information, it takes you to another page where you can see some more pictures, as well as that same information. And then you can check out all the other ones and compare and contrast, just in case that top one hadn't been the bird you saw. You can also change it up here from details to just a list, so you can see them all really quickly right next to each other, which is pretty nice. So if I click "This is my bird," it'll say, "Congratulations, you identified an American redstart." And then you can explore more and check out that bird even more. And at the bottom, it gives you the option to go ID another bird, or you can hit home. So we're gonna go to the home screen here. And the other option I want you to check out is Explore Birds. So if we go to the Explore Birds down here on the bottom, it will show you what birds might be around you given the time of year and how common they are. And that'll be done using your location. So you can see, obviously, American robins, pretty common, see those all the time. Red-winged blackbirds, pretty neat. So if we go up to this little menu button up here, it'll ask you, or it'll give you the option to refine your list. So you can say where you're at, the date, and then you can tell it what you want to sort by. So if you want to sort by family of birds, that'll sort it just a little bit differently. It'll put all the water birds together, shorebirds, cranes, vultures and hawks, owls, and then kind of sort them that way. So if you're looking for a specific family of birds for some reason, you can do that. And it shows their silhouettes here on the side. So you can even click on those to bounce around in the list. So you can change this and refine this in different ways. So sort by most likely is kind of interesting, because if you're just trying to figure out what birds are in your area, these are the ones that you might be hearing or seeing the most. So let's try this one. It's a little less common, that you might not notice so much, the red-eyed vireo. So you can check that out, see the pictures, and then maybe familiarize yourself with that bird, read a little bit about it, and then be able to listen to some songs and calls too, so that next time you're out and about, you might be more likely to notice it or hear it. So the Explore option is pretty nice too. One thing that I'm not going to show you today, but you could check out, is the Get Photo ID. This requires that you download another pack, and that's not something that I've ever felt like I needed to do, But if you wanted to try that out, it's another cool feature that Merlin Bird ID has. So Merlin Bird ID, really good for beginner and intermediate birders. You can get a look at a bird through your binoculars or just in your yard, and then try to notice those key things about it, like the size, color, location, what it was doing. And then Merlin Bird ID does a really good job at making guesses for you and giving you the opportunity to compare and contrast between birds that you really don't get when you're just out bird watching, because the birds are all flitting around, they're not sitting next to each other being all nice and giving you a chance to identify them. So Merlin Bird ID can be really cool. I have never found any reason that like kids couldn't use this on their own. Some apps recommend that, you know, ages 13 and up and that kind of thing, but Merlin Bird ID doesn't require an account of any sort. It does use your location though, but I've never found anything that says it shares it for any reason, so I think it's pretty safe that way. But you know, always use your best judgment, use your best common sense, and if you think your kids should use it with supervision, then do it that way. You know, always up to you. So Merlin Bird ID, a pretty cool app to use if you're trying to identify those birds hopping around in your yard. Thanks.